So, starting from profile building, how does a person look towards building their profile? What is the ideal timeline that they should look at? And what could be the hygiene pointers that you guys can recommend in terms of building one's profile for a target course?
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
maybe.
Ravin.
No, you go
Yeah,
ahead. Go
you go
ahead.
ahead. You go
Sorry, my bad. Let's start from Arth and then to Ravin.
Okay, perfect. So, I would like to be very honest. I never kind of went like on building a profile. I would say my journey. Ravin, like there's a bit of background noise. If you want to go ahead once this kind of
Yeah,
stops. I
sure. Yeah, I think um, profile building. Okay, so as as um, as a creative practitioner, I think everyone's journey for building their profile is going to be quite individual. But I think that acknowledging that journey is very important. Of course, you can have a traditional path where say let's say you're an architect, you do some internships, you get your first job, you progress in that job, and that's kind of your profile. But if you're really looking towards crossing disciplines, or being an interdisciplinary or a transdisciplinary creative, then your journey is often quite individual, but I think quite crucial to explaining where you position yourself as a creative practitioner. And I think it's really important for you to understand at every point of your career. I mean, I'm also in the middle of still defining my professional practice, but I think it's very important to understand exactly how you got where you've gotten. Keep telling yourself the story of yourself, like, how did I reach this point? Because that story can often become quite important to someone you're trying to find a job with, or someone you're trying to collaborate with on a project, or someone you're trying to just have the opportunity to work with. How does your story make you who you are, and as a result make you good for doing this particular job? So yeah, that being said, I think if you are a sort of creative practitioner that does dive into multiple fields and collects multiple fields, oftentimes it becomes difficult for the industry to recognize you. Now, that's something that I'm actually working on right now with Ars Electronica. Is we're actually trying to write a manifesto and define the practice of being a creative producer within these interdisciplinary fields. So I think there's both. There's acknowledging your journey and presenting it in a way that allows you to get access to work. But then, of course, there's also a lot of times where it becomes difficult to understand for people the work that you do. And then you can jump onto organizations, or there's always people writing manifestos, or there's always people writing papers, so you can always jump onto these things to get with people that actually help you build your profile and build your collective profile with other people that are like you, which is something that I'm doing right now. So yeah, you know main thing is acknowledge your journey and tell yourself that story and present that story to people as your profile. How did I reach where I am? Because that's often the most interesting part of your profile is, how did you take all these steps to get to this point, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
exactly, Ravin. So the point where you said about acknowledging a journey, I would say for me it was the same thing. Like, to be very honest, when I went in the classroom, people asked me like, "What have you done before?" So I said computer science, and they were astonished, like I did digital marketing. But then when you look at the journey, uh, when I was in second year or third year of my engineering, I started a YouTube channel. Then we started learning about digital marketing. So my profile, my SOP would kind of narrate that story from like why I switched from computer science to like digital marketing, and how my interest became like in digital marketing. So for sure, like when you're building a profile, it's more about the journey which you kind of take. So for example, if you want to do your masters, it's the journey from first year to the fourth year that you're taking, like in terms of learning C programming, then doing some internships, then projects. So it's not like in one, like in 2 or 3 months you just do some random projects and your profile all of a sudden becomes good, because that's not sufficient to show the journey that you've taken and why you want to do that masters. So it's important to channelize, or make the most of the 4 years or 3 years of undergrad which you have, to build a strong profile. So as soon like it's good as early as you start. So but then if you have less time, you could think of the story which you want to tell and try to accumulate so proofs that you would kind of put in that story. So just to make up the story, so like 3 or 4 months or a year or 2 years, whatever time you have left, I would say just make the most use of it.